Hey, so welcome back to the podcast. Today, I've got David Meltzer, co-founder of Sports One Marketing, a global sports and entertainment marketing agency that leverages over $20 billion in relationship capital and over 38 years of business experience that brings athletes, celebrities, and businesses together. And here's the hook and the reason why I've got him on the show: to make a lot of money, and help a lot of people, and have a lot of fun. David, the first time I read that, I was like, I have to know this guy. Because that just so resonates with me. So David, first of all, for the people that don't know who you are, and I know you've been very well exposed through books and audio programs and your contribution, if you will, to the world. For the person that is listening right now and they don't know who you are, who is David Meltzer?
You know, I am someone who I think represents a blend of two different currencies. And it's a blend of one, the currency of money. As I start off by saying, make a lot of money.
Sure.
Money's a currency. It's an object of energy we put into the flow to get what we want in this pragmatic world. And then the currency of faith, in a non-religious aspect of faith, which later on in life took a major role because my whole life has been about my relationship to money. I grew up with a single mom and 6 kids in Akron, Ohio. And the only time I wasn't happy was always about money. And so in my mind, money was the thing that bought happiness or love, because I had a mom who made me happy and loved me. I had these incredible 5 siblings that made me happy and a huge family. And I just didn't have money. So I grew up in a scarce world of not enough where, you know, why don't I have a house? You know, I have a 2-bedroom apartment with 6 kids. Why don't I have a nice car? I have a Country Squire station wagon. Why can't we afford sometimes dinner? Like, why are we packing our dinners in a paper bag and my mom working 2 jobs? And why is she crying because the car broke down? And so my whole life, my mom was all academics, right? 2nd grade teacher, hard worker. And she literally didn't think the fetus was fully developed till after graduate school. Her favorite saying, literally, doctor, lawyer, or failure. I would say like some entrepreneurial BS to her about being a millionaire. And she'd say, David, you're going to be a doctor, a lawyer, or a failure. Just stop. Right? Study, shut up and read. And my siblings listened to her. I literally wanted to be rich, but I blended even that to satisfy my mom. I joke around. People ask how my siblings are so successful. They all went to the Ivy Leagues, all summa cum laude, genius, like academic freaks, right?
Yeah.
Harvard, Penn, Columbia. And my people ask, how'd your mom do that with no money as a single mom? I said, simple. She's a black belt in the martial arts. And they're like, really? She kicked your butt? I'm like, no. 3rd degree martial art of Jewish guilt. Nobody can, and she's still, I'm 52 years old, can guilt me. and I try to pick up, my mom's my parenting mentor. So I've learned, wake your kids up at 5 a.m. and guilt them wherever you can, and they will be hyper successful. Anyway, so that journey and blend is who I am. And just to give you a little background on what I did, I focused in on being a millionaire. Went to law school to be a millionaire. I reverse engineered the law school I went to find the highest paying job out of law school, which is oil and gas litigator. So I went to Tulane. But when I got out of law school, I made a crucial change in my life. I always, pleased my mom. I took a job selling legal research in 1992. The internet was not the same as it is today, by the way. I'm old. It was very, very slow and very, very black and white or green and white. It was weird. But I went against my mom. I literally have a saying, just because somebody loves you doesn't mean they give you good advice. Because my mom told me the internet was a fad, that I was going to be a failure, that how dare I not be a real lawyer. I actually took the bar to make my mom happy, to mitigate the risk when I was going to fail in the internet. But 9 months out of law school, I was a millionaire. Everything from the time I left law school until 2 years before I lost everything, which was 2006. I lost everything, over $100 million in 2008. Everything just reaffirmed money buys love and happiness. Every single thing in my life, who I got engaged to, why I broke up with her, my first job, went to the Silicon Valley. I made more and more, I became the CEO of the world's first smartphone when I was 30 years old. I married my dream girl who hated me when I was a little kid and all of a sudden loved me. Everything reaffirmed that money really bought love and happiness. And I ended up being the CEO of the world's most famous sports agency right down the street from you, Leigh Steinberg Sports Entertainment. They made the movie Jerry Maguire about Leigh. I was surrounded by the biggest celebrities, athletes, entertainers. I went to the biggest events and award shows, always anywhere with great access. But I always had a charitable purpose. The interesting thing in my money relationship was I believe the more that you gave, the more you got. And that's a dangerous thought. And I know a lot of people are like, no, that's what I believe. And that's good to be philanthropic. But I went through a transformation with that idea that it's not the more you give to receive. It's really the more you receive so you can give. And I shifted that focus in 2006. I started that, as you said, I left Leigh Steinberg. He had a disease called alcoholism. He's overcome that now, just had signed the biggest contract with Patrick Mahomes. I'm so proud of him. Yep. But Warren Moon and I, we spun off our company to make money, help people, and have fun. Everything has a charitable purpose or cause. In the last 3 years, I built my own brand, as you suggested. I speak around the world. I'm an executive coach. I do a lot of philanthropic things as well, a ton of content, books, TV. I've podcasts, which I want you on, called The Playbook, a TV show called Elevator Pitch. I'm launching a new one, a 2-minute drill. So there's a variety of things that I do, but everything, believe it or not, Tom, now in my life is I'm on a mission. I want 1,000 people like Tom Ferry to empower 1,000 people, to be happy. And happiness is something that I can teach. It's something that mindset, heart set, pragmatic world I can help people with. And I do free trainings every Friday for the last 20 years. They have shifted into, during COVID, something huge by the universe and the luck and the coincidence of now thousands and thousands of people come and watch, which has been extraordinary. But they're really meant to empower you to understand what happiness is, how to achieve happiness, how to create abundance. I lived in a world of not enough. I moved to a world of just enough, where I was buying things I didn't need to impress people I didn't like. And I'm sure we can get into how I transformed into the world of more than enough.
Man, there's so many things, David, that I want to unpack in what you've said. And I know the listener right now is going, whoa, okay, got it. Like, I get this guy. You said earlier, like, the more I give, the more I get. I just want to unpack that one just for a second. Like, a lot of people are going to hear that and say, well, wait a minute. Like, I firmly believe that, like, happiness in some way is created by learning, right? That, the synapses it creates in the brain, the way it makes you feel, right? You expand yourself, you expand your idea, your identity through knowledge. And I also believe that contribution is a major factor of creating sustainable happiness, right? But some people use it as a drug, and then it goes away, right? So we both get that. But what the hell, what do you mean? Like, is giving bad?
No. Yeah. So right when I unpack that, I believe the more that I gave, the more I would receive. Yeah. The difficulty was that I was a trader, a negotiator, a manipulator, overseller, a back-end seller, a liar, a cheater. And all the things I can tell you I hated about my father, I realized why, because I hated him about myself. And I can go through a story with that later. But for me, when I made the shift in the paradigm, that it wasn't a trade or negotiation, that it wasn't a matter that I'm giving so I can receive. When I started focusing on receiving so I can give, allowing everything not to be to me, like in the world of not enough as a victim, not to be for me, like the world of just enough when I was a multimillionaire in my 20s and 30s, buying things I didn't need to impress people I didn't like. But now everything was going to come through me with appreciation, not just appreciation of gratitude, which everyone thinks of. And I know you're a big fan of, and so am I, with all our mentors that we share. But appreciation is to add value. When your house appreciates, you add value. And so I want to receive everything, to add value and appreciate it, only to give it away with value and to add value to other people's lives with appreciation and the light, love, and happiness in which it really comes from.
Yeah. So many people I talk to, and literally I was just texting with Glenn Stearns. I'm sure you know Glenn, right? Another great, Newport guy. He's got a great TV show. He's gonna be on the podcast. We were just texting about that too, and our sort of mutual love of Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And you meet these women and men that experience what you've experienced or done what both of us have done to a certain degree, where you, in your early days of your life, it's just like make money, right? Like I'm coming from nothing, and I'm going to do whatever it takes Tom Bilyeu, same conversation, right? Same exact thing, right? And then they get there and some people lose it all and that's their lesson. And some people have the shift and that's their lesson. And then some people that just becomes their life. Just money becomes they get divorced 48 times, it's okay. I can just buy another one, right? Like that becomes the mindset, right? Men and women. What do you think it is about what's happening in our society that creates these people like us that just, you come from nothing and you're like, I just have to have it. And then we finally figure out that the it as isn't it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. The money is never it.
And I have an interesting perspective on this because I'm a rarity that I went through a shift.
Yeah.
2 years before I lost over $100 million. So coming into, because of the massive amount of assets and wealth that I had, it had a longer period of pain, meaning pain is an indicator, right, of something emotional, financial, spiritual. Pain is an indicator that I have a lesson to learn. It was cool because I had two of the three, but I think it comes from, number one, that there's certain people that grow up with nothing that are stimulated by one thing. They must be what they can be.
Yeah.
Right. And so number one, the common denominator is they must be what they can be. And in order to prove that, when you have nothing, you initially set off to get something, because we can only, see things, and then we want to overachieve those. Right. And I make this a really big point with children, is I want to make sure that all the children get to see things so that they can break those records, whether it's in kindness or generosity or whatever it is. And I think it's important today that we represent certain icons to kids that they may not see all the time playing their Fortnite and with our politics and with diseases. I want to represent something different that they can see and overachieve. I want to plant seeds under trees that I'll never, sit under, as Dennis Waitley taught both of us. So, for me, it's critical to provide that type of a thing. The common denominator then shifts. Okay, if I must be what I can be and I want to be rich, and then I become rich, I now feel empty. And so that emptiness causes either, number one, a shift, or it causes self-sabotage, which causes you to lose everything. And usually you can pick that up. Now, there's also the other side, like you said, that, the people that have $40 million homes in Newport Beach and big yachts, and literally they still live in a world of not enough. Right?
Exactly.
But yet they're still driven by the ability to must be what they can be. Since there's an abundance, I tell everyone, there's more than enough of everything for everyone. They figured out how to get it. So what they do, since there's always enough money, is there's always more money. And if your goal is that, you'll never have enough wives. You'll never have enough boats, cars, planes, or money, because there's always more. There's always more.
Yeah. There's always somebody higher. Always, like my dad would always say to me all the time, there's always somebody bigger, better, faster, stronger, who makes more, who does more, who contributes more. So why don't you stop competing against them and compete against that guy in the mirror? And I was like, when you're 17 and you have a mohawk, you don't really hear that. But when you're like, he was planting seeds, right? But when you're like 22, 23, 24, and then you're starting to realize, and now at 50 and T minus, a couple weeks, like I really see it. I really, like my mentor, Mike Vance, would say to me all the time, man, I can't wait till you're 80, because that's when you finally get it. Right. He's like, it took me 80 years on this planet to finally understand it. Like most people were never going to get it.
Bob Proctor told me the same thing, 86, right?
Yeah.
You'll finally get that you don't know what you don't know when you're about 80.
Right. So how do we help the person who is, young and ambitious and, gotta go for what they want because they're coming from nothing, or they, they've got a lot and they just want to do more. They just want to experience more. What do you say to that person, to maybe put them on the right path?
So I have 5 steps. I'm very pragmatic, mathematical, and technological, and spiritual in the same breath. But I have 5 things, and I tell young people all the time. Number one, and I wish someone would have told me this when I was 22, 32, 42, and I remind myself at 52, by the way. So I'm on this journey, guys. I'm practicing. Everything's a practice. One, take inventory of your values. One of the things that makes a big difference is, look, we don't know our what. I try to convince young people, you already know your why. Your why is to help somebody or something. Let that go. Let's figure out your what, because that's what scares you. You don't know the what. So in order to find your what, take inventory of your personal values every day, your experiential values every day. What do you want to experience? And your giving values every day and your receiving values, and they don't have to be balanced. You're 21, you're 25, you're 35, you're 45. They're different balanced values. And here's the kicker. Don't be afraid of being a hypocrite. Don't be afraid of saying, I changed my mind. I changed my values. Yes. I don't believe, thank goodness, what I believed when I was 18. I don't believe that. And I'm okay. And what makes it really difficult as you get old, and you're going to feel me with this, Tom, is the snapshot problem. Yeah. I'm 52 years old. I'll go back to Akron, Ohio, and my favorite aunt and uncle that live there, they have a snapshot of David Meltzer from the time he was born until the time he was 9, and then mini snapshots of stories that they've heard about me.
Yep.
And so when I go back to Akron, to the people who I adore and love, and they adore and love me, it's extremely tenuous and hard for me because they see me in that snapshot. And I want to tell them, no, I don't have those values anymore. I'm not a money hungry, competitive person in that respect. I'm a different person today. And so don't be afraid of being a hypocrite. So that's number one. 2, ask. I'm a huge fan. I wish still today there's a little dude on my shoulder that would remind me in person, on the phone, via email and media, radio, print, TV, and social media every time. Dave, you got to ask for what you want. You got to ask how you can be of service or value. Ask for help. Ask. So I tell young people all the time, get into the habit of asking of how you can be of service or value, and asking, do you know anybody that can help me? Do you know anyone that can help me? There are no gatekeepers in the world. Drop that mindset. There are only sponsors, power sponsors, and decision makers. Everyone's on your side. Yeah. Everyone is here to help you. You have to change your mind. They may not be able always to help you because of time, emotion, or value, but everyone's here not to stop you. So the more you ask people, the more you're giving them the gift of allowing them to, number one, feel good about themselves, that you appreciate the superpower they have, but 2, you're giving them an opportunity to feel good by giving and investing in you. So that's number 2.
I gotta just throw something at you. So a lot of my listeners know I've got a longtime friend named Thatch Nguyen up in the Pacific Northwest. He and I, David, used to play what we call the contribution game. Put 50 people in a room. Everybody write down what is the biggest thing you're trying to solve, or what is the most important goal you're going for. And you get about 4 or 5 people in, and you run into the person that's like, oh, I can help you with that. Oh, here, I've already solved that. Here you go. Here's the answer. Oh, let me introduce you to my friend. He's a producer. And it gets solved that quickly, right? So like we turn the ask into the contribution game, the game of how can I help as many people as possible with my toolbox and my relationships. But you get 30, 40, 50 people in a room doing that together. It is insane. Why do you think most, like, I want to unpack number 2. Why do you think most people don't ask?
Oh, it's ego. See, they don't understand. They think that giving, right? Giving is this philanthropic thing that's difficult, right? It's not. It's so difficult. There's so many ego-based emotions that are attached to when we ask for help. The need to be superior, the need to be inferior, the need to be separate, the need to be resentful and offended, the need literally to be worthy, which is a big one for me. I'm 52 years old. I still work through my worthiness issues that, oh gosh, I'm not worthy of, asking. And I was blessed, I helped consult with the Vaynerchuks for their sports agency when they started it. Yeah. And I got into a competition of contribution with Gary, and the only thing that guy's scarce about is giving. You cannot outgive. I would say you can't out ask the universe. You can't out ask Gary Vee, because he gets like so competitive. Like the more that I did for them, the more he's like, dude, I got to do this. I got to do this. And I'm like, it's not a competition of contribution, but I'll get into this with you because I want to help you too. And you can absolutely help me understand what a genius you are in digital media. So I think it's really important to understand these ego-based emotions about asking and fight it. And then there's also the consistency problem. If you're looking at doing something, 2 minutes a day is way worth more than 2 hours on a Saturday. It's a muscle. It's a habit. When you get in the habit of feeling good, the cool thing about asking for me is how many people say yes. Right. But I think you unpacked all the sort of the sort of ego base, and the one I didn't hear is like the fear of not looking good. Or did you tie that one into worthy?
Okay, inferiority.
Inferiority, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's true. It's also that they're not going to think I'm doing well, right?
Right.
Like it's
Right.
more specific. Like I
Yeah.
couldn't. Oh my gosh, I really know my uncle could help me,
Yeah.
but I just don't want him to think I'm not doing well, and
Yeah.
that I need him, and
Yeah.
it killed me. Once I got rid of that, the radical humility took over my life.
Yeah.
My success is based off of this simple formula. You're gonna laugh, but I take inventory of my values to figure out my what. Then the majority of my time is doing research to find out who has what I want. And then I ask them for it, or I ask them to teach me how to get it.
Hello. Okay. Podcast over. Right? Like that's it. That's it. So you'll appreciate it in my world with all, like, I'm blessed to have all these extraordinary clients all over the world and friends. You with me, like, we're brothers and sisters in arms. And what I tell them is, look, we live in a world of R&D. And like corporate America people go, research and development. I go, no. Rip off and duplicate everything that someone else has done. If you can take pieces of that and turn it into your model, your plan, your goals, your dreams, right? Like you got to do all that, the right way. But like that is my entire ecosystem. Everybody operates in this world of R&D. So if David Meltzer's done something, David, brother, how'd you do it? How'd you do it? Tell me everything. Can you send it to me? Can I fly to your office? Can I spend it? And like, that's our community. That's what makes it so damn sticky and special.
It's so cool. And I laugh with my wife all the time because, as the brand grows and you get to the millions of people and everything, I laugh because the majority of the gratitude emails that I get that change people's lives are two things. One, thank you so much for teaching me to say thank you before I go to bed and when I wake up. It changed my life. Thank you so much for teaching me to say thank you. And I think, that book, I've learned everything you need to know in life, you learn in kindergarten or whatever it was. It's actually before that, because I have more people emailing, thousands, that have changed their life because I teach them to say thank you. The other one is ask, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so I have all these complex issues. I have been around the world thought leaders and I've written books and I've done extensive research on physics, quantum physics, and metaphysics. But in the end, the two things that change people's lives is to remind them to be consistent about gratitude and about asking.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
And those are like the first thing your grandma probably taught you.
For sure. And I would even go I'd even go farther down the rabbit hole that there's a lot of people that are afraid to ask Google, how do I build a landing page that converts? How do I increase where should I be investing today? Like they won't even ask Google and get info. They just keep it in their head. Right. And I'm a huge fan. I don't know if you've read this book, The War of Art. I'm sure you have, right? Like cause I'm in the middle of writing another book right now. So this is like you always go back to, something like this when you're in that creative space. It's the resistance. It's I don't want to look bad. These people are going to think less of me versus that person doesn't give a shit. They're not even thinking about you right now. But if they know something, people want to share. People want to talk about what they know. They want to contribute what they know. It validates what it is that they know.
I have a quote. My brother, he passed. He was a doctor, and I didn't know at 18 years old. I was pre-med, right? After I realized I wasn't going to be a professional football player, Christian Okoye, my freshman year, had run me over, and I lied on my back going, doctor, lawyer, failure. So I went pre-med, but I'm 18. I don't know what I don't know. And so I went to ask my brother about being a doctor, and I told him, dude, I hate hospitals. He's like, Dave, you got to be in a hospital, be a doctor. I'm like, no, I'm going to be a sports doctor, training room, sidelines. He goes, Dave, you're going to have to spend years in a hospital to be a sports doctor. I was so lost. And then he gave me this great gem advice that is the reason people won't search in Google. He said, David, you need to be more interested than interesting. You need to change your mindset from interesting to interest. You're a great salesman, manipulator, liar, cheater, overseller, back-end seller. It comes naturally to you. You're an interesting dude, but you got to be interested. And once I shifted that perspective of my mindset, I started, I work for Westlaw, so it was the original Boolean language search engine on the internet. Then it went to natural language, and then to other things, Netscape, and then Google. I've been involved in being more interested as a profession than most people. And I still sometimes ask myself, gosh, why didn't I look that up? Why didn't I ask for directions? Why didn't I ask? Why didn't I go YouTube that? Why did I just waste all the time, emotion, and energy in the dummy tax if I just could have asked?
Yeah. Okay. So if one is take inventory of your values, which, I'm a huge believer in. And 2 is ask. What's number 3?
3 is one of my favorites. It's very pragmatic. It's be a student of your calendar. And when I say student, my definition of being a student of anything is pay attention to and give intention to the coincidences that you want. I believe that's the mathematical equation of luck. Attention plus intention equals coincidence. That's how people become lucky. Now, I study 3 things in a calendar.
But whoa. But how does that relate to your calendar?
I'll tell you.
I get it, but I want to hear it.
Yeah. So for me, a calendar represents 3 things. What I have planned during the day, the activity I get paid for and the activity I don't. What I don't have planned for the day, which a lot of people that aren't more interested or interesting see the white space, blank space, the empty space in your calendar is the most valuable to me. And then I study sleep. In order to effectuate everything, I truly am a student. I have a sleep mentor at all times, a sleep coach. I have an unwinding routine. Most people, maybe because it's a sports background, I've always believed in cool downs. I unwind my day. But here's the lenses I use to study the calendar. And I use the calendar because time is the man-made construct that everyone feels as if holds together a day. 24 hours is a man-made construct. I like to bend that by utilizing these 3 lenses. 1, a lens of productivity. So I'm studying with how much value can I provide? How productive can I be? A lens of accessibility, which is a bifocal, meaning it's how accessible am I to others to be of service or of value, but also how am I accessing what I want, right? Looking and research, doing all these things. How am I getting what I want during the day according to my values? And then the lens of gratitude, which is so essential to me. A lens of gratitude means this. You are there to find the light, love, and lessons in everything. One thing I learned about being one of the most notable sports agents in the world and being surrounded by celebrities, athletes, and entertainers, and having a job that people would say, oh, someday, Mr. Meltzer, I want to be just like you, Jerry Maguire. I want to be just like you, TV shows. Right? The golden thing is there is suck in every job. And that's the lesson I learned. I always say, if you can learn that everything, number 1, has 10 minutes of suck in it, and you can learn to find the light, the love, and the lessons in the suck. Because I've been around Hall of Famers. I've been around, the biggest entertainers in the world, and they complain to me how much their jobs suck. And I try to teach them and coach them, hey, let's find the light, the love, and the lessons in the suck. Marcellus Wiley is one of my greatest examples. He would say, Dave, I play football for free. The way that I find the light, the love, and the lessons is, people bother me. I lost my privacy. I have to do certain things nobody would want to do. And then I use my money that I get paid. I say, I play football for free, but I get paid to do this interview or to have this lady take a selfie and grab me when I'm with my family. Then I remind myself before I ruin everything. That's my mindset. So study your calendar. You can be productive, accessible, and gracious in everything you do. And literally, it has changed my life. And it's also one of the more difficult habits. Just like saying thank you every day is difficult for 30 days. Studying your calendar, I do it twice a day, minimum 10 minutes. It is difficult to study it. So because I look at it, that's paying attention to it. But to study it, to give it intention, what I think, say, do, believe, the unconscious competencies of my personality traits, characteristics, obsessions, and addictions, all aggregated into what I'm going to perform with, and look at the empty space and use that effectively. But when you do it, man, you get light years ahead of people.
Right. Okay. So you got to unpack for me, so I'm a calendar freak. I am a sleep freak, right? So I'm with you on all of that. Be a student of your calendar. Pay attention to and be intentional around your plans, right? About what you don't have planned and around your sleep. And then you kind of said, basically, time is a man-made construct, which I love. I interpret it as efficiency, focusing on what you want, and always being in a state of gratitude. Did I get that right?
Yeah, efficiency, effectiveness, and statistical success, right? So I created the Power of 64, where when I first got out of law school, I wanted to be a millionaire. So I said, most people are productive at best 8 hours. I'm going to be productive 16 hours. I'm going to create efficiencies. I call it finding 4 minutes. If you tell people, if you can find 4 minutes every day of efficiency, it's 3 full days of productivity. It's 24 hours a year. Yeah. So it really motivates you to find that. In fact, I tell people, let me give you 2 weeks vacation right now. 80 hours a year is spent wasted on looking for things. Most of the time, it's your cell phone, your wallet, and your keys. If you go and listen to this podcast right now and find a spot that you're always going to put your wallet, your keys, and your phone, I just gave you 2 weeks vacation, 80 hours.
Yeah.
So
guys and gals like us that have also traveled a lot in our lives, we did that from necessity, right? You learn very quickly, put my watch here, put my this here, put my iPhone, because otherwise if it's a mess and you're in a different hotel room and you don't know where you're gonna be the next day, you lose watches.
Yeah. My wife,
I love that.
This is a crazy true story about traveling. You know, the yellow line they wrap around dead people when they die? The police do, so they know the position. So I created with these little vinyl things from the kids' toys that you put on this black board to make shape. Yeah. I cut out the shape of my keys, my wallet, and my phone. So when I went to a hotel room, I put them down. And so I'd know my space that I would never forget it. And even if I go out and enjoy myself with a couple glasses of wine, which is usually when I got in trouble trying to find stuff the next morning when I got to be on an interview at 7 a.m., I would just, that subconscious line would be like, okay, this is where dummy puts his wallet.
I love that, man. See, I am such a believer in that ambition, right? And routine they're just interconnected. You show me a person who is super ambitious and has no routines or is anti-routine, and I'll show you a person that was going to be miserable all of their life. But when you have routine and ambition together, right? And little things, you said, hey, I'm going to give you 2 weeks of vacation, right? Just by having a little thing like place your wallet and keys in the same place every single time. Like just those, that's a genius little hack. Please.
I learned this. I have a set routine, like wake up at 4, meditate, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
I have an adaptable routine. This saved my life.
Ooh,
so what I realized was that, hey, family comes into town, bachelor parties happen, life happens all the time.
Yep.
And if you can go to your adaptable routine to say this, okay, the set routine's out of the way. Yep. Now, what are my priorities? So my adaptable routine is real simple. Number one, a minimum of an hour a day on my health. So no matter who comes to town, what's getting done, I got to take care of myself for a minimum of an hour a day. Then it's a minimum of 30 minutes a day with my wife, a minimum of 30 minutes a day with my son, and then a minimum of 2 minutes a day with my 3 teenage daughters, and a minimum of 1 minute a day with my mom. And it's always to tell her 4 things. Number 1, I'm happy. Number 2, I'm healthy. Number 3, I love her. And number 4, I appreciate her. If you are a parent or a child and you can communicate every day in a minute, those 4 things, your bond between the most relative person in your life and you will always be, nobody will have to prove they love each other. Nobody will have to do things to create void shortages. The ego gets out of the relationship when everyone's secure in the fact that you're happy, healthy, love them, and appreciate them. And that adaptable routine, then I spend a minimum of 10 minutes a day studying my calendar, which sets off the rest of a new routine. So, but I think it's important for people to know life's going to happen to you. So if you're OCD, anal retentive, routine oriented, you better have an adaptable routine because life's going to happen to you.
Bingo. I refer to that more like in this sort of, I don't know, it's a cliche phrase of like non-negotiables, right? Like you're never going to mess with my morning routine. I don't care where I am in the world. I don't care what's going on. Whatever's happening. I mean, God forbid, like something with my wife or kids, then I'd be like, okay, I break it. But outside of that, those are my non-negotiables. Share this with us, like, because I'm a schedule freak. Like I tell people all the time, like if it's not in your schedule, it doesn't exist and doesn't get done, right? So think wisely about what you want, think wisely about what matters to you, and then ask yourself, should that be done every day, once a week, 3 times a week, and then put it in your schedule. Then you don't have to think as much. Right. And I'm hardcore. I'm like, go 20 years out in your life and say, who do I want to be in 20 years? And then what does that woman's disciplines, health routine, mindset, love, joy, gratitude, like what does she do every single day? And then start reverse engineering. What are those disciplines today and put them in place? But like, I say that to people and they go, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Right. Like some people get it and a lot of people do. And I love you. Thank you for getting it. And thank you for doing it for a lot of my dear friends and clients out there. I want to know, what's the question you ask yourself the most when you're looking at your calendar? This is for me personally, for no one else, because I'm a calendar freak. What's the question you open up your laptop, you look at the week, what's the question you ask yourself?
For me, the question is, how consistent are you? Like, I'm actually reviewing the consistency, because I believe in segmentation and exponential growth and acceleration. So when you talk about who am I or what are my values, 20 years, jobs, I was blessed to be around it, a young entrepreneur, connect the dots backwards. Segmentation allows for that acceleration and growth, but nothing happens. I call it zeroing effect without consistency. Mm-hmm. And so as I look and study and put intention into things, I know that 2 minutes a day is worth more than 2 hours on a Saturday. I just know that. And so more importantly, I'm looking to see what I didn't do or I'm not consistent, where I have a zeroing effect to the exponentiality of the power of what I possess, of that great source of energy, light, and love that I'm connected to. And so the first question I ask is looking and studying, going, how can I be more consistent? Why, or, and challenging myself. Why is it so difficult? I studied the Course in Miracles for 4.5 years. It took me a good 3 years before I didn't miss a day. Mm-hmm. And it was always in my calendar. And so that would be that question of why aren't you consistent? Why would you? One of my favorite videos I've ever seen is a guy that he decided to record 1 second of every day in the little, and put it together for 5 years. And it would end up be like an hour. But anyway, it was day 36. And this is his lifetime ambition, to do this project. I love day 36 because he held up a piece of paper and said, shit, I forgot. And I think in its essence, that's the practice of progress. That's the practice of quieting. It's the practice of human nature, that why do we get in our own way, that no matter how important, how good it is for us, how good it makes us feel, we cannot do stuff every day. But if we can, the universe or whatever, I think, rewards us with exponentiality, compound interest, and growth.
Yeah. Okay, so before we go to number 4, what's your unwinding routine?
Yeah, so my routine leads up to 9 o'clock. So I have several periods that are research time. I have several periods that are family time, turn everything off. I have coaching scheduled in there, etc. At 9 o'clock, my wind down routine is to make sure there's no negative energy input, accelerants, stimulants in my life. Now, the wind down routine is also, remember, I'm studying my calendar. So during the day, I'm looking to that unwinding routine, saying, hey, it's 8 o'clock. Am I going to go jogging at 8 o'clock? Is that going to make it easier to into my wind? No, I'm not going to do that. Yeah. Or, if it's the night before and somebody invites me out till 4 a.m, some celebrity athlete has, I'm going to be mature enough to walk away, which is always difficult for me, which caused me so many problems in my 30s because I couldn't say no, and I wanted to please everybody, even people I didn't like. So I would be around drugs and alcohol till 4 a.m, and I wanted to wake up at 4 a.m. every day. Now everything leads to that unwinding routine. I'm very particular, especially with today, of inundated information, meaning that I think people have to control not only what they say, but what they hear. And so I will be honest, my rabbi brother doesn't like this, but I'll listen to Joel Osteen at 9 o'clock, right? I'll put him on in the background,
Sure. Joel rocks.
He rocks. And I've been blessed to hang out with him and go live. And I'm a Jew for Joel, I don't know what they call me, but I love the dude.
That should be a hashtag, man. That's hot.
Darren Prince and I, another sports agent, Magic's agent, right? But yeah, so that wind down routine to me is essential, because what it allows me to do is I pass out before 11 o'clock every day. Yeah. Sometimes it's 9:05, sometimes it's 10:50, but if I can pass out from lack of energy and clarity, that sleep period that I have is actually a input where most people live their life like the myth of Sisyphus. They push a boulder up all day long they push the boulder up, and when they wake up the next morning, it's back at the bottom of the hill. I plateau and grow my life partly because of the unwinding routine, but also because I know when I'm sleeping, I've got rid of all the interference and corrosion between me and that great source of energy, love, light, and lessons. And if I'm not doing anything to interfere with that beforehand, I can really maximize not only the physical restoration that's needed by sleep, but the emotional and spiritual enlightenment that occurs while we sleep. And you wake up smarter, better, and happier.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So what's number 4?
You're going to love number 4. I can tell already. It's one of my favorites. Now, I have a philosophy that statistics, I hate them, right? So I used to say the only statistic I love is 99% of all statistics are made up. That was the only statistic. Then I started playing golf. I owned a golf course when I was in my 30s, and I realized there's one other statistic true. 100% of all short putts don't go in.
Yes.
Right? That's true too.
Yes. Yep.
Then I came up with the gold. This one everybody loves, and it's the difference between successful people and people that do not succeed in life.
Yeah.
100% of the things you do now get done. People who get stuff done are successful. People that don't aren't. And I ask myself, according to my calendar, right? Can I get this done? Can I get this done now? And if I can, I do it. And if I can't, it goes into my calendar for the next day. Prioritize like Eisenhower by what's most important first, not what's by most urgent. Right. But I get so much more done in a day because I do it now. You know what? I had the other day on a Saturday an interview, and I had a 15-minute period, and I looked over at this cabinet that needed to be cleaned out for the last year and a half, one of those COVID projects. Yeah. And I looked at it, I said, can I do this now? Yeah, I can. And, I, in 15 minutes, did something that had been lingering over me, causing interference, shortages, voids, obstacles in my life. I must have spent at least 2 hours of focus over a year and a half of I should get that done. Should I get it done? Should I? And then feeling bad that I didn't get it done. Do it now. 100% of the things you do now get done. The difference between successful people and unsuccessful people is people that are successful get things done.
Dang, I love that, man. I'm like this huge fan of like that closet to me is the metaphor for I'll stand with somebody or, coaching somebody or just in a conversation. I'll say, how many open loops do you have? And they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, I don't know. Are you complete with your parents? They're like, nope. I'm like, well, that's a big open loop. Are you complete, with your health? Nope. I'm like, okay. So I use it like the example of how a child would draw the ocean, the waves, right? And the whole goal is, can you just close all the loops? Right. And when you have that, one of my great sort of philosophical teachers says, then you are whole and complete. You have integrity. And I was like, yeah. So like the closet, everyone that's listening right now has that closet that they've been looking at that they're like, I need to get that done. Right. And I always tell people like, make up that list of just all the incompletes, right? The closet, sell the car, clean out the garage, say you're sorry, right? Like whatever it may be. And man, do you feel better? Right. Yeah. 1000%. Right. I tell people like, do you want to really lose weight? They're like, yeah. I'm like, do you have any clothes from when you were heavier? They're like, yeah. I'm like, throw them all away. You throw them all away. At least you won't go back to it. Right. Just stupid little things to get us in action. What's number 5?
Number 5 is the practice of life, which is practice ending fear. And I'd love to be able to share in 3 minutes a story that exemplifies this. So, because this changed my life. I have a serious routine. So I wake up at 4, I meditate for 20 minutes. I get ready for the gym for 10. At 4:30, I'm out the door. In the old days, now I'm running at 4:30 before I was going to the gym. I wake up on a Saturday, unbelievable meditation, get ready. I'm on the high plateau and go, higher frequency, baseline for the day. It's going to be an amazing Saturday. I wake up, get outside. My 17-year-old daughter's car is missing. I go into ego-based consciousness. Right. I go into anger. And I'm almost done dialing and about to say, where the F is your car? Where the F are you? Are you kidding me? I told you to be home at midnight. Now, meanwhile, I fell asleep between 10 and 11, so I have no idea what time my kids get home. And I'm literally so pissed. And then I become this ferocious Buddha. I'm practicing ending fear. And unbelievably enough, I stop dialing and I start breathing. I take those deep breaths in and even deeper out to lower my blood pressure. And I ask myself, why are you so angry? And I answer myself, I'm not angry, right? I'm afraid. I'm afraid something's happened to somebody that's so important to me that I'm responsible for. I'm terrified. Okay, then let's treat the situation accordingly, right? You want to make sure she's okay, and you want to make sure you help her if she's not okay. Take a deep breath. Yelling and screaming and F-bombing her is not going to help. No. So now I pick up the phone in what I call the right trajectory, not accelerating in the ego-based consciousness of interference, void, shortages, and obstacles that can change your life. But now I'm moving in the right way like a ferocious Buddha would, and I call calmly, And I wake her and I said, hello. She said, hi. I said, where are you? I'm in my bed. Oh, where's your car? Oh, Daddy, you told me when kids are drinking that I shouldn't get in the car. So I took an Uber home. I hope that's okay. Oh, I'm so relieved you're okay. I'm so proud of you. I love you. Oh, I love you too, Daddy. And I'm sorry for waking you. Oh, it's okay. I love you. Bye. Now, so many layers change your life here, because if I would have accelerated in the wrong trajectory and not practice ending fear and not been a ferocious Buddha, I would have yelled at her and said, where the F are you? She would have said, I'm in my bed. Where's your effing car? Well, you were drinking. I'm going to take your car. I'm going to take your, I've seen myself and other parents do this.
For sure.
So here's where
every parent. Yeah.
Here's the subtleties, though. It's not just that my situation ended with a bonding experience, closing the loop of a father-daughter relationship of trust and of credibility. But it goes far beyond that, because what happens that people don't realize is the next time kids are drinking, my daughter says to herself, I don't want to disappoint my dad. I don't want to make him mad. I don't want to lose my car. I don't want to lose my phone. I'm going to drive home. And God knows how lives change when that happens. Her life, my life, somebody that we don't know's life can change dramatically. And this is a classic example of what I think rule number 5 is so important, because most of the things that are stopping us from what we want are because we are not practicing ending fear. We're creating, right? We're the reason we can't manifest exactly what we desire, because we've created these interferences, voids, and shortages and obstacles by, number 1, not identifying, right, when we're an ego-based emotion, knowing the need to be right, offended, separate, inferior, superior, anxious, frustrated, scared, angry, resentful, all these feelings that I practice identifying. And then even more, to practice being able to stop, knowing that when my mind, body, and soul's on fire, I better stop and then drop and then roll in the right direction. So using breathing, being a Buddha, asking ourselves, why do I feel this way? Learning, building that muscle. Now our lives become easy, right? Things start happening rapidly and accurately the way we want them, because we're not creating the interferences, voids, shortages, and obstacles. We're accepting and allowing the power that we have, that power that sits within us, to be connected and come through us to others. And life really becomes so easy, which ties into like my favorite rule number 6, which isn't on the list, but it's don't take yourself so seriously.
Yeah. You know, I was just sitting here. I mean, you're having, we talked to, we have, kids similar ages. So I love that example. But as you were saying it, I crossed off, I modernized in my world, practice ending being triggered.
Nice.
Right? Because so much of the world today is in this like triggered mentality that, it's not the parent, well, maybe it always is the parent saying, do what I say, not what I do, is basically what happens. But, on the other side, like, we have this culture of people now that just allow themselves to emotionalize stuff and lash out, react, overreact, when it's like, hey, chill. Like, I got 3 Buddhas from my wife, and I keep this, near me all the time, as that reminder, like, hey, Buddha would get attacked all the time, as all spiritual leaders have. And they would take a breath. They would look for appreciation. They would look for understanding. We're missing a lot of that right now in our world, man. I'm not going like political and all that. So I'm just saying, like, I think everybody listening, like, I don't know about you, but I turned the news off a long time ago. And man, if I want to like get depressed really quick, all you got to do is just ask somebody what's happening in the world, right? And the filter of weirdness is.
You can seek the answers. You don't need them inundating you all day long. You want to check once or twice a day how many people die or what percentage of hospitals are full. You can look that up, but you don't got to listen to it all day long.
Yeah. This practice ending fear. If you have not written a book about that, you should write an entire book about that. Fear, trigger, resistance, anxiety. It's all of that, right?
Yeah. I just finished Don't Do Business with Dick, so I think practicing ending fear will be next.
You got to send me a copy of that. Okay, for the people listening, what you don't know is David actually lives like maybe 15 minutes from my house, right? So I'm in my studio, he's in his home studio, and next time, brother, we got to get together face to face, because the energy it is off the charts.
On my podcast too, so without a doubt, this is a start of a long, fruitful, and empowering relationship for us and others.
Yeah, 1000%. So, David, as we wrap this up, you've I was telling everyone that I interview, I always say like, I'm taking probably more notes than because most people are driving or they're doing something else. I'm like actively interviewing you and learning in the process, which for me is just like the secret reason why I do podcasts, right? What's one last little thing you would say as we turn this off and wrap this up and let people get back into whatever they're doing next? So just give us one last thought, David, because you've shared a lot.
My golden rule, it solves all the issues that we talk about and will talk about.
Yeah.
Kindness. So I always say, be kind to your future self and do good deeds. Whether you're depressed, anxious, angry, frustrated, happy, doing simple good. No deed. You can't out-ask the universe, but you can't out-kind yourself. And I think all the issues that exist today, if people would just take a step back and say, what would a kind person do? What would a kind person do in this situation? So much of all of this interference goes away. And even more importantly, not only what would a kind person do, how can I be kind to my future self? So even take and extend kindness to another level, that I'm not just going to be kind in the incident or precedent of today and being present, but I'm going to be kind beyond today. I'm going to be kind to many years to come. And those good deeds will keep on coming, and you'll learn to expand and grow and accelerate. And that's receiving, in my opinion. So be kind to your future self and do good deeds.
I love it, man. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. And obviously everybody out there, you're going to follow him on Instagram, check out what he's doing. You can see him on YouTube. I think we connected on LinkedIn. I forget which one it was, but I mean, just, kindred spirit. So brother, thank you for sharing your wisdom, your insights, your 5 and then 6 points, and so many gems in between. So thank you again. And for all my friends out there listening or watching, make a comment, share this with somebody that needs to hear it. And we'll be back with you soon on the next podcast. Take care.